Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another game. And that was maybe one of the most frustrating games to watch, definitely this season, and maybe in the in the past couple of years, maybe since our team started becoming good again. That's probably one of the most frustrating games I've watched in a while. The Canadians, just absolute back and forth stuff. Both teams at one point were holding multi-goal leads, and then just didn't work out at the end of the game for the Canadians. That's really frustrating. The Canadians got absolutely, not to mince words or anything, but they got absolutely screwed by the referees today. Um, you know, six straight penalties for Montreal unanswered. Only one penalty for Edmonton in the entire game. Some of them earned, some of them not. But I mean, like just at the end of the game, you know, like Josh Anderson gets a 2 minute unsportsmanlike penalty for like I don't know like slapping the puck after the goal. Like players do that all the time. Like what about that could possibly be considered unsportsmanlike conduct? He just like shoots the puck away after it goes in the net, and suddenly we're back on another penalty. Like it makes no sense. And Slavkovsky gets a boarding for like driving a guy into the wall. Like he didn't even like hit him. He was connected. He was attached to the player all the way into the wall, and he just happened to fall over, and they call that a penalty. Pretty sure they scored on that one too. Um, and just complete lopsided officiating. There's just nothing like there's no I don't understand how you can justify that. There's just calls going on there that just make no sense. But I think the story of this one is that the Canadians deserved better than what they got in this one. They at least deserved a point to go to overtime. And credit to the Oilers there. They were able to capitalize on the opportunities they had. Like we were up 5-3, but there was still a lot of time left in the game, and they used that time wisely to come back and put the dagger in us with a little over a minute to go. So good on them. It'd be good if they could do that in the in the Stanley Cup Finals and not against us here in October. But yeah, it's just a tough one. So starting at the top, Newhook gets one. 7.5 in. Hudson kind of takes a shot on net, and Newhook is able to bury the rebound. It's a good one. I heard them say that it was like the seventh of the last 8 games that we've scored the opening goal. So that's pretty cool. I feel like that's not something that we're typically doing. Like in previous years or whatever. So we're putting ourselves in good positions to win games early, which is good. The second goal, the first goal for Edmonton, like goes off of Newhook's like leg or something like that, and so like you can't blame Matsubo too much for that one. Like that's just the way it goes. Henrique gets one halfway through the second period, just kind of like a tip. It looks like the puck is going like over the net. So Montembeau is kind of lifting up to try to catch that one, and then it gets tipped straight down in between his legs. That's just another tough one. Like, what are you going to do? And then Mangiapane scores. That one you'd love to see a little bit more coverage in front of the net, but when you got McDavid on the ice, like we saw it the other day or yesterday with Demidov, on the overtime period, looking for Matheson. Like sometimes when you got good players on the puck, you're just drawn to them. Get a little dazed, So he almost found somebody backdoor, and then I think Darnell Nurse was able to kind of throw a backhand pass that went right out back to the slot to Mangiapane, and he was able to put that away. So that's an unfortunate one. You'd love to see a little bit more coverage there. But then the onslaught of of goals that come in after that for the Canadians are really inspiring in my opinion. I think like I think what do we got like between like just about like 3 minutes left in the period to like within a span of like 3 minutes or whatever, the Canadians score 3 goals. Josh Anderson gets his first. Just good like forecheck the whole way through fire from Evans. I thought Evans played a great game overall, especially early on the penalty kill and all that kind of stuff. But Josh Anderson was able to find one kind of like open in the slot. He's able to put that top corner there that kind of kick started us a little bit. And then Cole Coffey gets a really nice one. Dobson makes a really nice pass kind of across the ice and Cole is able to make, a few stick handle moves and just tuck it in behind Pickard there. So that was a really nice goal, and he followed that up 49 seconds later with another one that kind of just looked like, it's definitely one that I feel like Pickard would want back. He just kind of like shot it, went underneath the arm of Pickard onto the far side, and that was the second goal. And that puts Cole into tied for the league lead in goals, kind of similar to where he was last year. So it's good to see some consistency there. Definitely an interesting flock of guys who are all tied for that position. I think Scheifele's in there, Pinto is in there, Dorofeyev in Vegas is in there, Cole obviously, and then I think I don't remember what the other one was, but either way, he's tied for the league's lead. So that's pretty awesome. Suzuki gets his 11th assist there. So Suzuki's looking really good points wise. That's always good to see. And then Newhook gives us some, what we would assume would be insurance, off of a nice pass by Kapanen, a nice little backhand sauce pass that Newhook is able to just bury. But yeah, just way too much time left in the game. And like, I'm gonna blame the referees because two power play goals to tie the game late for Edmonton is just frustrating, especially when that second power play is just completely unwarranted. The first one, like, that's fair. McDavid is McDavid. Sometimes you got to trip him up to prevent him from scoring. I get it. So that's fair that Draisaitl was able to score that one. But that second one, that makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand even at all why you would call that. And like, I guarantee you that will happen a million more times throughout the rest of the season, and it won't get called a single time other than that. Like, I don't understand how, like, and I'm pretty sure he got like a 10-minute misconduct for that too. Like, I don't know if it was from like complaining about it after the fact or something, but like, it just, especially at that point in the game, it's late in the game, it's a 1-goal game, and you're gonna give Edmonton another power play for like Josh Anderson shooting the puck like into the neutral zone or whatever after a goal. Like, that happens all the time. It makes absolutely no sense why they would call that. It's just, like, I just don't understand. Like, in that point in the game, like, you're gonna make that call in that situation. Like, it just makes no sense. And obviously Edmonton's able to capitalize on that. And I think, like, it's easy to look at that and be like, Montembeault needs to be better, whatever. But I mean, it's the Edmonton Oilers, and they're on the power play. Like, I don't think that there's very many teams in the league that can compete with Edmonton's power play. I mean, certainly not the Canadiens. Not like they got many opportunities in this game to show that, but yeah, like, it just makes no sense to me. And then obviously Podkolzin gets a last second, a little over a minute left, goal to take the lead, ended up being a game winner, his first of the season. So I mean, that's one that you would like to have a save on, at least hold us on to get to overtime. You would love to get a point in a game where you had a 2-goal lead in the third period. But I mean, Edmonton, I think anybody could have told you coming to this game, Edmonton is nothing if not an explosively offensive team. And you gotta play a full 60. That's the way that that's kind of been the narrative so far this season. We gotta play a full 60. I mean, some of the penalties that we got are just absolutely atrocious and definitely contributed to us losing that game. I think if the referees were a little bit better in this one, I think we would have come away with at least a point tonight. But I think we would be kidding ourselves if we said that we played a perfect game outside of that. Especially late in the game, we let Edmonton come back into it. It was definitely aided by the officiating, but even still, like, you got to be able to shut them down. And like, we're gonna be playing some good teams throughout the season, are going to be able to put up goals quick. I mean, including us, like, we were able to put on 3 goals and, not that long. And then they did essentially the same thing. So, yeah, it's a frustrating one, and definitely just a brutal game to get 0 points on, considering the fact that I think the Canadians did play really well, and I think they deserved to get points in this game, considering, the way that they played, and they like, yeah. It's just frustrating. It's just, you would love to see a point there. You would love to see, some calls go our way, like the fact that like there were definitely plays in that game that Edmonton should have gotten called on, but we got literally one call our way the entire game, and we got five straight penalties to end the game there, including like the most ridiculous call I have ever seen. So like the two of those calls in the third period are just absolutely embarrassing. I just don't understand what the like I don't understand how that's being called, especially in the time of the game that they were called in. Like I that just makes no sense. Like I don't understand. Um, but yeah, that's the way it goes. Sometimes it's like that, but yeah, I think outside of that, I think there's a lot to like about the way the Canadians played tonight. Like, um, I think a lot of guys played really well. I thought Slavkovsky, the whole top line, played really nicely. I think most of our offense played really nicely. I think you would like a little bit more from Montembeault, especially late. We've seen that from him in previous years. We was able to kind of make big saves when we need it, and we didn't really get that today. I felt like the Edmonton was kind of just in control late, and they were getting chances and they were all going in. Especially like that one last one, you'd like to see a save, but also you'd like to see the Canadians kind of lock it down a little bit. But it looks like they definitely got overwhelmed and let the emotions get to them, and I can't necessarily say I blame them for that. I probably would have done the same if I was on the ice in that situation too. So it's frustrating, but I think overall, I think there's a lot to like from that game, from what we can control there. So just frustrating. You don't get a point there, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, so we move on, and try to forget that one, but yeah, it's just so frustrating. I just can't believe that even just happened. It's just so bad. It's just yeah, like a lot to like, and I just feel like gutted for the guys who they played a really great game, I think, and I think they deserved a lot better than what they got, but yeah, it's just frustrating. But yeah, like listening to the call, just in general, Craig Button. I don't know if he's like, forgive me if I don't know something I should know, but like I feel like he's not a Montreal Canadiens like specific commentator, but he was absolutely glazing the Montreal Canadiens all game, and I and I'm a Canadiens fan, obviously. Like I'm open to any Habs glazing that's going on, but it was a little bit much. I thought even from a receiving person, like from a Canadiens fan listening to it, it's like Craig Button just loves glazing the Canadians today. I don't know what it was, but just he was all about the Canadians, just ripping into Edmonton whenever possible. And it's just, I mean, hey, I mean. I don't think necessarily what he was saying was wrong. I feel like Edmonton didn't necessarily deserve to win this game. I mean, they did, and they definitely did, capitalize on the opportunities that they were given late in the game. But I mean, to say that like their full 60 minutes was a performance that was better than the Canadians, I think is just incorrect. I think the Canadians, definitely deserved to at least get a point in that game. But just the way he was talking about it was just so funny. It's just he was so on one side of the call there, and hey, I'm not complaining, but I thought it was kind of funny to listen to there. But yeah, I don't know. That's not much else to say in this one. We're moving on here. I think we have Vancouver coming up on Saturday. So that'll be an interesting one. Vancouver's kind of like down the middle in terms of the way that they've been playing so far this year. So yeah, I mean, like they definitely have some offensive firepower as well. They don't necessarily have, McDavid like talent on their team, Draisaitl, all those kind of guys, but definitely a team that we have to watch out for. But hopefully we can get back into the win column a little bit there. It'll just be interesting to see. This is kind of the first game for the Canadians this year that has kind of just stabbed a little bit. Like I can only imagine what the Montreal Canadiens locker room sounds like right now after a game like that. So I think the biggest thing moving forward is just how do they respond to a game like that, where they like I think they definitely deserved a better fate and they didn't necessarily get it. Do they let that bleed into, game 10 of the season against Vancouver, or do they kind of reset and go back to, what was working today, regardless of the outcome? So that'll be interesting to see if they're able to, like shake it off, or if it kind of lingers a little bit. I think that that's you might expect, like especially from a younger team like what we have, that it might bleed over a little bit. So hopefully, with some good coaching from Martin St. Louis, that we can kind of move past it, keep moving forward, because I feel like there's a lot to like about the way the Canadians played, regardless of the actual outcome tonight. So it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, that does remain to be seen. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today. Really, a really frustrating game, just one that the Canadians just deserved a much better fate in. I love the way that they played through most of it. You just would love to see, maybe just one bounce go our way, or obviously a call go our way at the end of the game, but just a series of unfortunate events, and just not amazing coverage defensively at the end of the game, which is like what you can expect from playing against an Edmonton team. Like they're really good offensively. I think that's undeniable. And when you give them opportunities, the refs give them opportunities, as well as the Canadians not necessarily locking it down defensively. Then you open yourself up for a multi-goal comeback like that. So something to learn from for this team for sure, especially a young team like experiencing something like that. Hopefully they can like take the positives of that and learn from what that's like. And I think that that's the biggest thing for this team, and the biggest thing that like good teams do, that I think the Canadians need to learn, is how to win a game. And like they've won games obviously, but a lot of them have been kind of like back and forth. The Canadians just somehow end up on top, or they win in overtime or something like that. But I think good teams are teams that they have a multi-goal lead and they're able to hold on to that. I'm not necessarily saying I blame them for the way that the game ended there. I think that there was some external help that helped Edmonton win this one, but I think if good teams find a way to shut it down, with a 2-goal lead, and just find a way to kill penalties, just kill the rest of the game and win it. And I think as a young team like this that are just kind of just finding their way, they're still trying to learn how to be a good top team in the league. That's just something that'll come with time, and I think this will be hopefully a good learning experience to learn, like what it like the game is never over, right? Like we've been the beneficiaries of that a little bit recently with late game comebacks and stuff like that. So I think that they can learn from this one to learn, like, hey, like the game's not over until the final buzzer sounds. So yeah, hopefully they're able to do that, and they won't bleed into the further games. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how they can play against the Canucks. They're still in a pretty good spot standings wise. Canucks kind of middle of the road. So I think we should be able to come back and win a game here. Keep the wins coming. You can't win every game, obviously. I find it hard to believe that we'll lose another game quite like that, maybe ever. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So hoping for a better outcome on Saturday. I will see you guys there.